joke.
I know some pretty bad Westhead jokes.
Yeah?
Why'd the orange stop rolling?
Oh.
Ran out of juice.
Oh, jeez. I regret this already.
Well, I love just diving into every new racing season. We do a ride for 6-7 months through the winter here up in Middle North Canada, and then for our first weekend, we go down to the States for the last 3 years to race down in Odessa, Washington, in the Canada Desert 100. We got about 800 people riding with us this year. It's going up by about 100 every year for the 3 that have been there. It's near the end of their season, and right at the very beginning of ours, we still have -10, -15 Celsius up here, and it's been a long winter here, but it's nice to get back onto the bike and start riding again. Much time down every winter, it gives me an opportunity to tear through the bike, make any upgrades or changes that I might want to the bike, see if I can improve performance, get my times up a little bit better. Unfortunately, this year I was able to do a lot of upgrades. I did some work to the head, converted the bike over to some stainless steel valves, and switched out to an R-cam on the bike to do up the horsepower a little bit, give me some more top end. But unfortunately, in the process of it all, I had some engine trouble leading up to the weekend. I couldn't get it started, couldn't get it to run properly, and normally at this time of year we would have had a couple of weeks for a shakedown, and conveniently enough I was actually back from work and would have had the time, but it was -20 outside, and it really ended up being a little bit of a panic factor trying to make sure that the bikes were running right. Thankfully this year we went down, drove through the night on Wednesday, arrived on Thursday. They've opened up camping a day earlier, so we had an extra day of riding down there, and a few of us that had our bikes fully stripped down were able to do a better shakedown, and most of us were able to get rid of the issues that were nagging our bikes so we could have a nice trouble-free race. As you can see in the video here, it's raining at the beginning of the race. It was also pretty cold compared to the last 2 years. Odessa is desert normally. We actually sat down for breakfast on Saturday morning in town and talking with one of the local people there, and they were saying that in their entire life there that they had never seen 3 consecutive days of rain, and we managed to do that over the weekend. It wasn't as overall wet as last year. The flooding last year really made the fields and the desert just deeply soaked, so the mud pits are quite deep, although this rain did loosen up the top and it made it quite slippery. There was just a thin layer of really slick stuff on top of the rocks, and you'll notice throughout the video that there's a lot of guys laying on the side of their bikes, kind of in weird positions where it seems like they shouldn't be knocked over, but given those rocks that are buried in there and how slick they got, there was a lot of accidents this year. Although, without seeing the actual numbers, I'd wager to say that there didn't seem like there was as many really bad injuries. Didn't see as many ambulances this year. Because of how many people are around, they have an injury board up that you can go in, and if you have the bib number, they usually list down what type of injury they've had and where they've been sent off to hospital or not. And most of the time it's pretty serious, but it's also got some, I guess, funny moments. Probably not funny for the person involved, but the way that it was worded ended up being a little bit comical. There was one poor fella in there that his injury was listed as lost finger, which kind of boggles the mind, I guess, as to how that happens, but hopefully he's doing okay, and they were able to fix that up for him. And the other one that was kind of a little bit odd was a fellow that his injury was just listed as broken, and I'm pretty sure we all felt that way by the end of the weekend, but I guess he was a little more broken than the rest of us. The weekend done by the numbers is there was 786 people listed for the 100-mile event. There's also a 50-mile event that launches 15 minutes after, so you end up with about somewhere between 1,300 and 1,500 riders on this course. It's a 50-mile course, 2 laps. My numbers are specific to the 100-mile class, as that's the marquee event and the one that I raced in. 426 people didn't make it to the end of both laps. Some by time. If the leader finishes the race, you have 15 minutes to finish your first lap before they close the gates and won't allow you to go on and continue on your second lap, so you do have to be at a certain pace to continue on. But 426 people either didn't make it by time, mechanical injury, or pulled up. That means that only 45% of the people that started this race finished, and I'd wager to guess that there aren't a lot of just absolute casual riders. I mean, there's a bunch of yahoos like me and the guys from Saskatoon that are kind of casual racers, but pretty much everybody's experienced. So the fact that 45% made it and 55% didn't make it. It gives you some idea of how tough these events are. I know we get a lot of people asking about the events, and I get the general impression that people think that these are casual trail rides. They are not. They are absolutely brutal events. I don't know if you've ever been violently shaken for just about 6 hours, but that's pretty much what it feels like by the end. You can't see a lot of the stuff that goes on underneath the tires in these videos. The GoPros and the Sonys, they just don't pick that up. You can watch a little bit of the suspension underneath in the video. You can see my front fender there and see how much it gets kicked around. You can listen to the engine as to when my rear tire is leaving the ground. But you are riding over 6-inch rock for just about 6 hours, and when you're not in the 6-inch rock, you're in shale or you're in whoops, and they are not track whoops. They are all over the place, cow pasture whoops, and it is exceptionally difficult to get through. It's not hard to ride on it for an hour or two, but when you start extending it over and you have to start pacing yourself, it is very difficult, and something you really have to do to appreciate. I would challenge anybody that's a regular motocross racer to come out to one of these and give it a go and see how you stand up. I know Devin, one of the guys from Saskatoon here, he's raced the last year in motocross here in Saskatoon. He was his first go in a desert race. He did finish. He was about 11 minutes behind me in 276th, I believe. About 5 hours and 50 minutes, give or take. He did very well for not having done a cross-country race before. It's a completely different skill set to motocross, and I think he developed a new appreciation for just how tough these things are. These larger events are special in a lot of ways. People travel from all over Western Canada and all over the United States. There's a couple of guys from Georgia this year, some guys that race professionally in the Works Championship and the GNCC Championships. I mean, these are world-class riders that come here and compete. There's a lot of us that are just there to just see if we can finish it. And but if you want to see some real serious national level riding, this is the places you go to. This is where all the best riders come. You come to little rocky sections like this here, and you sit back and you're thinking to yourself while you're bouncing around doing about half a mile an hour over it, trying to keep your bike up, how the fastest riders go through here. It'd be a real treat to sit back and watch them blast through. Given their times, they can't be slowing down very much. I find that over the weekend every year that there's just an enormous amount of stuff that I learn by doing these races. It forces you to do terrain repetitively and when you're tired and when you're fresh. And you learn a lot about how to manage the bike better. I did do this year. I had one decent off in kind of mid-third gear on the poker race. I was in the family poker rally, so it was kind of fun that I ate it on that. But during the race this year, I stayed up, stalled a couple of times in various places, as you'll see in the video. But overall, I didn't eat it, and that was a major improvement over the last couple of years, as I've had some pretty spectacular offs. I've learned a lot how to manage going through rough terrain. Each bike is a little bit different depending on how the power delivery is, how your suspension is. But this year I'm on a CRF250X. It's kind of a combination bike. But I've learned that rock crawling in higher gears is helped me smooth things out a lot. Use a lot more clutch. It's not a 450. I can't tractor through everything, although the bike does have good low end. But you'll hear that my engine doesn't rev up a particular amount. It's because I'm in a really high gear and I'm using my clutch to roll the rocks so that I don't spit things up. I also switched to new tires this year. I'm running Golden Tire GT232N in the back and a 216 Fatty up front. I'm running them at 6 psi in the back and 8 psi in the front using a tubeless system. The traction available in that is ridiculous. It really softens out a lot of the blows, helps you stay fresh a lot longer as it eats a lot of the rocks. You do get a little bit swimmy, and you do notice that it robs you a little bit of top end, but and you can see the tire from up on the handlebar perch there. It is huge. There's just no pressure left in there. But I can't recommend that combination enough. They were just absolutely spectacular. They're not wearing quite as well as my Midas C18, C19 combo was, but I'd say that overall the traction was better. I'm not sure it's wildly better, but it is better. But overall, you felt real confident in them. I at no point in the entire weekend felt like the tire was letting me down or that I was sliding anywhere. I'm quite happy with them. Trying new things on a race weekend when you have no real washdown period prior to it or shakedown period prior to it is always a bit of a a mixed bag. Last year I tried out my boots for the first time on the weekend, ended up with huge blisters all over, particularly on my ankles, of all places, as they were breaking in. They were an improvement overall, but I paid a little bit of a price for it. This year I had new gloves. The last couple of rides of last year I had some Fox impact gloves that I got a hole in a couple of the fingers that was not really reasonably repairable, and my clutch kept getting stuck in there, so I switched over to new gloves over the winter, and sure enough I ended up with blisters all over my hands, some pretty good ones, which I guess is expected given the length of the race, but that's really the only even moderately long-term lasting effect. Obviously sore from the amount of bouncing over the weekend, but we just had such a great time there. Weather could have been a lot better, but I think we're all looking forward to trying again next year. Come back, try some new things, see if we can get up a little higher in the standings. I think for next year I'd really like to crack the top 200. I know it seems like a low bar, but I think if you were to come out there and try it yourself, you'd realize that that's really not a low bar at all. It's just so much fun. It's a great event, and I can't recommend it enough for the people around. And if anybody is interested in coming with us next year, let me know, and we'll see if we can arrange and get you a nice camping spot. It's important to get there early, and it's good fun to have other people to bug and to harass while we're there. And it's scientifically proven that the more Canadians you have, the better your event is. So if we can just load that up, we'll continue to improve and continue to grow, and we'll slowly start taking over these races down there and see if we can't get more of them more interest generated for cross-country racing up in Canada, particularly across the prairies, as it seems to be an area we have a drastic shortage in. I'd like to extend a specific welcome to our buddies out at the Manitoba Dirt Riders Series. That maybe we can get some interest in them. I know it's a long way, but trust me, it's completely worth it. It's just think one of the MDR weekends, but dialed up to 12 and 6 hours long, with about 10,000 people in RVs, and that's pretty much what we have. And a special shout out to the people in Alberta, the Alberta Dirt Riders as well, that maybe a couple more of them would come down. I know there was a bunch of people from Calgary and Airdrie region there, but it'd be great to see that grow, and be seeing as though there's an Alberta Dirt Riders and Manitoba Dirt Riders, and maybe a few of us could get together and we could form a Saskatchewan Dirt Riders. So if any of you have any interest in something like that, maybe know some area that we could set up some courses, maybe try one of these, or just start a grassroots sort of event, then let me know, and I'd be more than interested in participating in something like that. Maybe my only piece of advice that I give through this video, you notice at the beginning there that everybody is kind of zooming by, pulling away a little bit, and then as the video progresses that fewer and fewer people are passing me and more people are getting passed by me. Pacing is so important in these. It's nice to remain fresh as a daisy to the end, and there's nothing more satisfying than crushing people's dreams in the last 10 miles as you're ripping by person after person that didn't pace themselves particularly well. I'm not young anymore, so passing guys in the early 20s is a huge satisfaction to me, and something that brought me great joy over the weekend. I think we've got about 2 minutes of video left here, but I seem to have run out of interesting things to say or comments for the weekend, so just want to thank you for coming along for the ride, and hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully we can get more people to come out next year. It's really, like I said, I can't recommend it enough, and look forward to seeing even more people there next year, see if we can't cross the 1,000 barrier at the start line. It's already 1.5 miles long. I bet we can crack 2 if we really tried hard enough.